Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the pre-registration webinar for Clean Neighborhoods Challenge. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is Christabel Villena. I am the Program Officer with CARET, the agency that is supporting NYSERDA for this challenge. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the News and Updates page of the challenge website, which is cleanneighborhoodschallenge.org. This should be available next week and will also be emailed to all of the registrants. We've reserved the majority of our time over the next hour for your questions, and in just a moment, NYSERDA will further welcome you and provide an overview of Clean Neighborhoods Challenge. I'll then do a quick walkthrough of the challenge website with my colleague Taylor Rowell. Then Lynn Van Deventer from CARET will help open it up for questions. As questions come up, please type them into the Questions tab, and we'll answer as many as we can with our allotted time. And before we move on, some very important dates to keep in mind. The deadline to register for Clean Neighborhoods Challenge is Thursday, July 22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern. Please note that you must create an account and complete the online registration form in order to submit a proposal. And then we have another pre-submission webinar scheduled for Tuesday, August 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern. The sign-up link for that will be shared with all who have registered for Clean Neighborhoods Challenge shortly after the registration deadline. If you have questions after today's session, you can always reach us at questions@cleanneighborhoodschallenge.org. Now, I'm very pleased to virtually turn things over to Robin Marquis, Program Lead for the New York Clean Transportation Prizes.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Christabel. This is Robin Marquis from NYSERDA. Just going to give a brief overview of the program as a whole and some of the specifics on the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge in particular, which we're discussing today, before turning it back over to the CARET team for some more logistics and then Q&A from you all. So the New York Clean Transportation Prizes are led by NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, in partnership with the New York State Department of Public Service and the Department of Environmental Conservation. This program is supporting electrifying transportation, reducing air pollution, and enhancing clean mobility in underserved communities across New York State. Through these prizes, we're providing teams of global experts with the opportunity to directly engage with these communities to improve and scale clean transportation options locally across New York State and beyond. Within the program, there are 3 prize competitions. The first, which we're discussing today, is the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge, which will support long-term transformational and integrated solutions to expand the use of electric and active modes, reduce vehicle traffic, and improve quality of life in disadvantaged communities. Through this challenge, we'll be awarding up to 3 grand prizes of $10 million each, which will be supporting this transition to a clean transportation future. The other 2 challenges, just briefly, are the Electric Mobility Challenge to support projects that demonstrate innovative, safe, and convenient electric mobility options. And the third is the Electric Truck and Bus Challenge to award projects that demonstrate electrified solutions to the deployment of medium and heavy-duty electric vehicles or their replacement through other electrified modes. Looking specifically at the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge, and just give a high level of what we're looking for in this particular challenge versus the other 2, really focusing on these transformative, scalable solutions to meet communities' needs, in particular focus on disadvantaged communities in New York State. If you look at the rubric that we have, calls out what will it take to be successful in this particular challenge. So in particular, we're looking for a specific level of impact, wide range of activities and scaling this, providing these needed transportation options to disadvantaged communities, reducing transportation-related emissions, and achieving both near-term and continued change in these communities, very transformative. Looking for there to be alignment with the community. Have they been engaged in the proposal development process? Are there existing partnerships and plans to continue to secure them? Really taking into consideration what their needs are today and the ability to continue to address their needs as the project evolves. Is it something that's feasible and repeatable? Is there a strong plan in place? Community buy-in, sufficient resources to execute, in this case, a $10 million award, experience, capacity to lead a project of this size, mitigating risk, and really importantly, where can you succeed where others have not, in particular in disadvantaged communities? And in terms of repeating it, is there a vision and a roadmap to scale or replicate this? So both grow beyond the initial implementation in the selected community or replicate in other communities, both in New York State and beyond. So looking for a model that's transferable, not entirely unique to one specific community and wouldn't work elsewhere. So those are some of the key notes of what we're seeking in this particular challenge. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the CARET team.
Thanks so much, Robin, and thanks again to everyone who's joining us today. So the Clean Neighborhood Challenge will award up to $30 million to advance clean transportation solutions in New York State's disadvantaged communities. The first step to determine whether or not you're a good fit for this opportunity is the Organizational Readiness tool, which you can access from the main drop-down menu, as you can see here. The tool walks you through a number of questions that determine eligibility for this challenge. This challenge is open to any nonprofit, Indian Nation, business, or company in good standing in the relevant jurisdictions. Proposers can be from anywhere in the world. Please note, individuals, government agencies, universities, and colleges are not eligible to participate as a principal organization, but could be part of a proposing team. Lobbying organizations and utilities and associated enterprises are not eligible to be a principal organization nor members of a proposing team. The Clean Neighborhood Challenge will fund scalable, community-aligned, clean transportation solutions that reduce local air pollution, help to overcome persistent transportation challenges, improve quality of life, and remove barriers to widespread electric and active transportation use in New York State's disadvantaged communities. If you answer yes to each question in the Organizational Readiness tool, we encourage you to complete the registration process. Please note, registration is required in order for you to be able to submit a proposal. And the process is very simple. You'll go to the upper right-hand corner of any page on the website and click on the button that counts down the number of days to register. You will then be instructed to create and confirm your account. And then after, you will be prompted to submit basic information about your organization so that we can better understand our registrant community. Please note that you will not receive email confirmation of your registration. If you're able to access the online proposal and forums on the platform, then you have registered properly for the challenge. Our challenges are rooted in the values of openness, transparency, and fairness. We want to be sure that everyone who registers and applies for this opportunity knows exactly what we expect from them, as well as when and how they're going to be scored. This website is built as an instructional guide to understand that process. There are two great places to start to really understand what this challenge is looking for. Robin talked about the scoring rubric already. Another resource is the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge proposal process. The full text of the proposal is available for any visitor to the site. You can see all of the questions, prompts, requirements, and word count limits. And the proposal has several sections. You're encouraged to read all of them so that you have a good grasp of what is required in order to submit a competitive proposal. Also under proposal process, you are strongly encouraged to visit resources. Here you have access to webinars, data, reports, and eventually a directory of local community partners who are serving disadvantaged communities in New York State. And if you are a New York State community-based organization, please complete the interest form here on resources so that you can be included in the community partner directory. Once you review the proposal process, you should have a very strong sense of what you'll need to do to apply. So the next question most people have is, how will your proposal be evaluated? Now take us back to the scoring rubric. So Robin talked about this at length. I won't say much more other than to reiterate that the site provides prompts that detail what each of those traits mean in this context, and each trait will be given a score between 0 and 5. You can toggle back and forth between the scoring ranges for any given trait, and a scoring range definition will appear to provide further detail on what a low and a high score means for Clean Neighborhoods Challenge. This rubric helps define what makes a strong proposal. It is also the same tool that scoring committee judges will be using as they score their assigned proposals. So this brings us to the actual scoring process, which you can find by clicking Evaluation from the menu. Following the submission deadline, all eligible submissions will move into scoring committee review. The scoring committee judges will use a scoring rubric to provide scores on their assigned submissions, and will also provide feedback and comments to justify each score and note their overall impression of each proposal. We often find that this feedback is one of the most important aspects of participating in our challenges, and that even if you're not awarded a grant, you walk away with valuable feedback that you can then use to refine your solutions and perhaps seek other funding or expanded support. So now this brings us to another common question we receive. How do we ensure the evaluation process is fair? To address this question, we have a webpage dedicated specifically to explaining how we normalize scores. Every valid proposal will be scored by 5 members of our scoring committee. This means that not every judge will look at every proposal. We make sure you're not disadvantaged if, by chance, you were assigned to a hard grader and another applicant was reviewed by someone who tended to be a little more lenient. In brief, all scores are rescaled and normalized. And if you go to the menu and click on the scoring process, then fairness, you can read more about how this works. There are 2 other features on this website I'd like to point out. First, let's quickly visit the rules page. Here you can read about the legal stipulations on the teams governing your participation. You can find the eligibility criteria and learn more about the detailed terms and conditions required of all our participating teams. We also have a timeline page that details each phase of the challenge. Again, registration is required and must be completed by Thursday, July 22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern Time in order for you to be able to submit a proposal. Then, the proposal deadline is Tuesday, August 24th at 3 p.m. Eastern. The timeline goes on to list all other key dates related to the challenge. And this website also includes other helpful areas like news and updates and FAQs. We encourage you to read over all of it to help better prepare you for applying to the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge. And with that, we're ready to move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Please continue to add your questions to the questions tab, and we'll get to as many as possible. One note, to ensure fairness, we're not able to provide guidance specific to your proposed solution, so we encourage you to take the organizational readiness tool and review the pages of this website to help determine if you are a strong fit. All right, let's get started. Robin, you want to take the first one?
Sure. So we've received a question about helping to clarify some of the differences between the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge, this one, and the Electric Mobility Challenge, and the webinar for that is tomorrow. So there's some question about what is the crossover between the two, and a sense of, is the Electric Mobility Challenge more focused on micromobility versus Clean Neighborhoods might be looking for other solutions or multimodal solutions. So to help clarify, the Electric Mobility Challenge is focused on personal mobility solutions. So proposals cannot include any freight or goods movement services, which are listed in the rules under the list of ineligible activities. The emphasis there is on the provision of new or expanded electric mobility options that are addressing the community's needs, such as access to jobs and other essentials. Here, in the Clean Neighborhoods Challenge, we're more broadly focused on reducing transportation-related air pollution. So the solutions can include both personal travel and goods movements. And in both cases, proposers are encouraged to consider supporting infrastructure, regulations, policies, and other aspects of their solution in addition to the deployment of electrified modes that will help increase the utilization of those modes.
Okay, so I'll go ahead with the next question. It's about geographic focus. So is it okay to propose a program that is geographically focused on specific disadvantaged communities, or are you looking for a statewide footprint? Funding from the New York Clean Transportation Prizes must be used to reduce air pollution and improve quality of life in at least one disadvantaged community. The solution may also impact other locations, but funding must be used for efforts focused on disadvantaged communities. All proposals must increase access to electric transportation and improve quality of life for at least one disadvantaged community per the interim definition that was provided on our website, which is either census block groups that are in the top quartile of HUD census tracts meeting the annual income threshold of 50% area median income, and is a location identified as a potential environmental justice area as defined by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, or communities in New York State Opportunity Zones. On the site, there's an interactive map that identifies areas throughout the state that meet this criteria. We'll have a resource that will be an instructional guide for this interactive map on the resources page in the coming weeks. Otherwise, in the meantime, please visit our FAQs and the proposal to learn more. All right, the next question. Are you seeking projects that operationalize or implement technologies that can be replicated at scale? Robin?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. We are seeking projects that can be operationalized and implement technologies that can be replicated at scale. So this is something that you'll see both in the specifics of this particular challenge, but really across all three, across the entire program. Really strong emphasis, as we noted in the rubric as well, that we are looking for solutions that can be scaled to be competitive within this program. So trying to shift away from individual pilots and looking for solutions that can be proven out in these individual communities and ideally be adopted in other disadvantaged communities across New York State and globally as well.
All right, thank you, Robin. Next question, can you submit an application to all three grants? You want to take that, Robin?
Sure. So as we're pulling up the rules page here, we'll note that yes, you can submit to 1, 2, or 3 of the challenges. We do have a proposal submission limit within each one. So an organization that would be the principal organization can submit only one phase 1 proposal to each of the challenges. So 1 per challenge could be a maximum of 3 across the 3 challenges that we have. And we do have some more specific details around what would constitute an organization for that limit. So if there are large organizations, then we could have a regional or location-specific branch that could register and submit separately as that principal organization, provided they meet the eligibility requirements for a principal organization. And they could also participate on other proposals, as long as there's not overlap in the team members across those separate proposals. And we also do have a question in the proposal that speaks to whether or not you're pursuing additional awards and some efficiencies that could be gained if you were to be awarded more than one, how to kind of maximize the effort of getting more than one project within a specific community.
Great, thank you, Robin. Next question, how do we access the community partner directory? I can respond to this one, I'll take this one. Eventually on our resources page, we will have a link to a list of community organizations based in New York that are doing great work in disadvantaged communities throughout the state. So that should be coming by the end of June. All right, next question. Is this challenge looking to fund zero emissions infrastructure even more so than clean buses? Will applications be penalized for asking for a holistic project that includes both ZEB buses and ZEB fueling. Robin, can you take that one?
Sure. So we are looking in this particular challenge and really across the board for more holistic solutions. We have specified in the FAQ for hydrogen in particular that hydrogen vehicles on their own would be out of scope, but if they're utilizing, if they're producing the hydrogen with electricity and using those vehicles to replace otherwise dirty vehicles in the neighborhoods, that more kind of package deal or holistic solution would be eligible within the rules. So it is our expectation that we'll be seeing solutions that include both the deployment of the vehicles and their affiliated charging infrastructure. But there are questions in the proposal as well about local conditions, interoperability, existing infrastructure. So if there are charging stations already in place that could be utilized for it, then there's a place to respond of how you would use the existing infrastructure, or as part of your solution if you're proposing to put in new infrastructure for your specific vehicles, just where and do you have the rights to use that land and those kinds of questions. So it could, depending on what's already there and what you'd want to leverage or utilize for your particular proposal, we are expecting to address both the vehicle side and their charging infrastructure. And again, sort of in the vein of more holistic solutions, complementary policies and regulations and other local solutions to encourage the use of these zero emission modes.
Christelle, I'm back. I can take take over reading here. Sorry about that. I lost internet connection. Hello, I'm leading a clean neighborhoods proposal where my organization is serving as principal. I have colleagues also submitting proposals for both the EV mobility and bus and freight proposal. In addition, we may be serving as advisors on other proposals. Is that wide reach a potential hindrance to our various submittals?
So good question. I think this is a bit of a follow-up to whether organizations can submit to more than one. I would say that in the questions where we're asking about expertise and capacity and kind of tying that to the rubric that we walk through, and in terms of feasibility and ability to execute, it would really, from this question alone, we wouldn't be able to gauge that, but just point you to some areas of the proposal and then how you'd be evaluated on that to ensure that you're kind of addressing who would be doing the specific projects under the different challenges that we have. And if you're proposing that it's kind of all the same people, that they have the capacity to fulfill the role that is expected of them within the specific proposals that you're submitting. So it would sort of depend on your organization and their expertise and capacity, but there's nothing in our rules that would be limiting that kind of involvement.
And that's the last question that we have in the questions box. If you have any others, please go ahead and enter them.
Yep, and in the meantime, if you do have questions that are very specific to your proposal or your account when registering, please email us at questions@cleanneighborhoodschallenge.org, and we'd be happy to help you.
We have another question coming in. Yeah, for the webinar tomorrow, could you please send the link?
I'm sure. I think I can make sure that we email out another reminder for the webinars tomorrow and Thursday. So tomorrow will be Electric Mobility Challenge, and Thursday will be Electric Truck and Bus Challenge. And you can also email us at questions@cleanneighborhoodschallenge.org to make sure that we get you the right information. Any other questions? Okay, well, if you haven't done so already, please complete the organizational readiness tool. And if you find you are a strong fit, please register no later than Thursday, July 22nd at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time in order to be eligible to submit a proposal. This webinar was recorded. I saw the question come up, and will be made available by email and also on the website, on the resources page and news and updates by next week. And we'll have all of the webinars linked to from each of the websites. You'll also be able to access them from forums. So when you log into the platform, there's our forum section. So recordings of the webinars will be available there as well. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks again so much for joining us. We look forward to learning more about your efforts to transform New York State's disadvantaged communities through an integrated, community-aligned, and scalable approach to advance clean transportation alternatives, reduce air pollution, and improve quality of life. Thank you so much, and please do let us know if you have more questions. Have a good rest of your day.